Hello, so creative, it's Faustina here. Welcome to another interesting tutorial. On today's tutorial we are going to make this beautiful gown that is inspired by Miss Prudence Gabriel. You see how beautiful our gown is looking. So today's edition we are going to learn how to cut and sew this gown without manipulation. So if it's something you would like to learn, please keep watching and don't forget to like, subscribe and comment on our post. And let's move over to our cutting table. So this is the fabric that we are going to be working with. This is our tape rule, our pattern curve, our paper, and 1.5 yard of black crepe that draws one side, and 1 yard of cream crepe. So note that this crepe draws on one side, and that side that is drawing is the place that we are going to use to lay as our body circumference. All our body circumference will be running through the place that draws, and the white also draws one side. So if you want to buy yours, make sure you buy crepe that draws at one side while the other side is stiff. So let's move over to our drafting table. This part we are going to draft out all our pattern. So I've gone ahead to mark out our starting point, and from our starting point I've marked out the length of our gown, removing the half cut of it and 2 inches hemming allowance, as you can see. And on this box is our hip divide by 4, is what I used to create this bust, as you can see. So from our starting point we are going to mark out our hip line. After marking out our hip line, we are going to mark out our knee line. Because it's a pencil 3/4 gown, I want from my knee line, I want to taper it like a pencil. So on the center front of our pattern, we are going to impute our waist divide by 4 plus 1 inch dart intake. So we are going to now taper it to the hip line of our gown. And from our knee line, we are going to mark out 10 inches, which will serve as our knee line. In case you didn't measure your client's knee, this is how you can go about it. So after getting our knee line, we are going to minus 1.5 inches from our hip measurements. Remember, this box contains our hip divide by 4 value, so we are going to minus 1.5 from it, and anything that we add on the knee is what we are going to add on the hem of our gown, and we are going to straighten it up like so. And we are going to now start imputing our dart by marking out our nipple to nipple measurement and open up our dart by half an inch at both sides. And the length is from your hip, you go up by 2, and you now complete your dart intake. So at the center front, I'm coming down by 1 inch to give my front skirt curve at the waist of our gown. So I came down by 1 inch and I went up by half an inch by the side, and I taper it like so. I close up my dart to complete the tapering. So our front pattern is ready. We will now start working on our back skirts. So I've gone ahead to extend those lines to the back of our gown. So on that zipper side, we are going to label it, which is our center back, and on our waist, from our center back, we are going to come in by 1 inch and taper it to the hip of our back gown. So after tapering it to the hip, we are going to now impute our waist value and plus 1 inch for our dart intake, and we are going to mark out to the hip line as well. On the knee, we are going to come in by 1 inch on the knee, and we are going to taper it to the hip of our back gown like so. I am going to taper it to the hip side of our back pattern. I am also going to taper it to the hem of our gown to get that pencil effect on the back side too. So we are going to taper it to the hem on the two sides. After tapering it to the hem on the two sides, we are now going to start repeating our nipple to nipple measurement from the center back of our gown. We are going to repeat our nipple to nipple measurement, open up our dart by half an inch and mark out our dart leg like we did on the front. After marking out the dart leg, our back pattern is also ready. So we now start working on that white pattern that is on our gown. So on the side front of our gown, we are going to come down by half an inch from the waist, and on the knee line we are going to come in by 1.5 inches, and on the hip line we are going to come in by 2.5 inch, and on the hem we are going to come in by 1.5 inches too. And we are going to join all the 4 points together to get that curve. So after marking out the 4 lines together, on that hip side we are going to close up our darts because we don't want our gown to have any darts. So we are going to now manipulate the darts by closing it up on our pattern and using our masking tape to hem it down like so. So after taping it down, we are now going to complete our curve. This is just the dart alteration. We are now going to now close up our dart and complete our curve. After getting your first curve, you are going to now start marking at 2.5 inches from your first curve. You are going to now mark at 2.5 inches all the way down so that you will have an accurate curve. So after marking out the 2.5 inches, I use my pen so that I will get an accurate curve before I will now use my marker to make it more visible. So I'm going to join the lines together, all the 2.5 inches together. So our curve is ready. We are now going to use our marker to make it more visible and also go ahead to label it so that we not misplace it while cutting. So I'm trying to make it more visible like so. So after making it more visible, we are just going to label it and also do the same to the back of our pattern. Label it so that you not misplace it. Put your arrows and asterisks so that you will know which part is which part. And we are going to also do the same to the back of our gown. On the knee we came in by 1.5. The difference between the front and the back is just that on the hem of our back I came in by 1 inch because that side we have a slit. So I came in by 1 inch and now mark out my lines. On the back too, we are going to close up our dart because we don't need that on that our gown. So we are going to now alter the darts and close it up on our pattern like so. So after closing it up, we are now going to also complete our curve and also mark out 2.5 inches from our already gotten curve. So I'm trying to taper it down. I'm also going to mark out 2.5 inches from our already cut line. So after marking it, we are going to now separate the front from the back so that we will go ahead and now cut out all our patterns. So I'm trying to separate the front from the back like so. So after separating it, you are now going to start working on the back pattern of our gown, trying to trim off the parts that we do not need. So after trimming it off, I'm going to make that curve more visible so that I can label it and also cut it out. You see how beautiful our curve is looking? So this is the part you can use to get your accurate curve. So after curving it, I'm going to label it as well so I will not misplace it from the front. I also put my arrows. I'm just going to cut it out and also do the same to the front. After cutting it out, you can go ahead and now transfer it to your fabric. So this is just how you go about it. I'm trying to cut out all our patterns. So after cutting it, our pattern is ready. I'll also go ahead and do so on our front pattern. After cutting it, we start working on our front bodies. So this is our front bodies. I've gone ahead to mark out all our vertical lines from my shoulder to my chest line, from my shoulder to my bust point, from my shoulder to my underbust, and from my shoulder to my waist. And at the armhole side, I came down by 1.5 inch for my shoulder slope, front shoulder slope. And we are now going to now from our chest line go up by 3 inches and come in by 0.75 and taper it to the tip of our shoulder like so. And now impute our bust measurements on the chest line, and we are going to now complete our armhole curve. After completing our armhole curve, we are now going to start working on our waist side. We are going to impute our waist divided by 4 value plus 1 inch dart intake. After marking out the 1 inch dart intake, we are now going to taper it to our armhole side. So after marking it, we are going to start imputing our nipple to nipple measurement all the way to our bust point. So after marking out the nipple to nipple measurement, we are going to now complete our dart leg by opening it up by half an inch, and at the side we are going to come down by 2 inches from the bust point for the difference between our front and our back. And we are going to be making use of English princess dart on this our gown. Because it's like already made gown, we are going to be using English princess dart. We are going to now mark out our princess dart, and at that armhole we are going to come down by half an inch to tighten up the armhole side. But on the under bust, we are not going to tighten up our under bust. So on the shoulder, we are going to divide our shoulder into 2 and now mark it to our bust point. Taper it back to our bust point to now get that our white value that is on our shoulder part, and that opening that is on our shoulder part. On our dart leg, we are going to come in by half an inch on the both side like so, and come down by 2 inches. And this is for the opening, and this thing that I'm marking now is for the white patch that is on our shoulder. So from the shoulder too, we are going to come down by 4 inches. From that my shoulder, I'm going to come down by 4 inches. But it's as preferred, you can come down more if you want that white pattern to go down more. So on that our already marked out lines for the opening, we are going to come in by half an inch like so. We're going to come in by half an inch, and on that 4 inch we are going to now taper it back to the half an inch. The first line we drew will serve as an opening, while the second one will serve as that white patch that is on the shoulder. So we are now going to now alter the neck of our front pattern by coming in by half an inch and going down by 4 inch, and now completing our neck curved like so. So our front pattern is basically ready. You are just going to now start cutting it out. So after cutting it out, we now work on the back pattern. So before you cut it out, you are now going to open up your dart and close the side dart before you now continue cutting it. So watch closely on how I cut our pattern. You can cut yours as well. So I'm trying to my side bust because we don't need side bust. The side bust is the difference between our front waist and our back waist. Remember, our front waist and back is not the same. My front waist is 17 while my back is 15. So if you watch closely, you see that there is an excess left on that side, so you are just going to complete it. And at our princess dart side, we are just going to come out by half an inch and redraw our armhole to give it an excess in case we will need it while sewing. You have an excess to work with. After sewing, you can go ahead to just trim it off. So it's better to have an excess than to have a short. So I'm just trying to cut it out. It's better to have an excess than having your pattern short. So I'm trying to open up that opening that is on our shoulder. We are not going to be making use of that first one I'm cutting, but this second one we are going to be making use of it. It will serve as that white patch that is on our shoulder. So this is all our patterns. This is the white patch, this is the center front, and this is the bust side. So this is our pattern. You can go ahead to transfer it to your fabric as well. So we now quickly work on our back pattern. So this is our back pattern. I have gone ahead to mark out all the vertical lines as well, from the shoulder to my waist and from the shoulder to my chest line. How do you get your chest line? Your bust divided by 6 plus 1.5 inch plus extra 1 inch for your shoulder slope allowance. So I slope my shoulder for the back by 1 inch. So on the waist, we are going to do waist contouring for elimination of zipper bulge. So on the center back of my waist, I'm going to come in by 1 inch and I taper it back to the neck of my pattern to eliminate any zipper bulge. As you can see on that video, my zip was laying very flat. So this is how you go about it. So from that 1 inch, you are going to repeat your waist divide by 4 value plus 1 inch that intake. You are going to taper it to your chest line and you start marking in your nipple to nipple measurement and open up your dart by 1 inch. Remember, we left 1 inch for our dart intake. So we are also going to add princess dart on the back pattern, but we are not going to tighten it by the shoulder side. So after drawing out your princess dart on the neck, we added v-neck. So you are just going to come down by as preferred how you want your v-neck to be, and I'm going to now curve it to the neck of your gown. So this is it. The back pattern is ready. We are just going to just cut it out and also transfer it to our fabric. So note how I'm cutting it out in case you don't know how to cut out your pattern. So watch closely and see how I cut out all the parts that we don't need and the parts that we need. So I'm going to cut out the dart and also cut out our princess dart. So our back pattern is just ready. So this is the two parts that we will be working with, the side bust and the center back of our pattern. So I'm trying to label it. So after labeling it, I'll just go ahead and transfer it to our pattern. So I've gone ahead to transfer all our patterns to our fabric by adding half an inch to all the necessary parts. I added half an inch all over, while by the center front I added 1 inch for our sewing allowance. So On the upper part I also added 1 inch all over. You can see that white patches that is on the shoulder. I've also gone ahead to cut it by adding half an inch all over, and all our front pattern is ready. I will now show you the back parts. I'm also gone ahead to cut out the back pattern of our gown, and this is it. This is the back part. I've gone ahead to cut it, adding half an inch all over, and at the zipper side I added 1 inch, while at the side back of our pattern I added 1 inch, which will serve as our sewing allowance. So for the front lining of the gown, you don't want that lining to have that patch effect, so we are going to now taper it down back and now use this pattern to cut out the lining. And this is the end of our tutorial. If you have watched to this part, thanks for watching and bye. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I love you all. Bye.